Welcome back, YouTube. This is a series on the Spiritual Toolkit, which I've been talking about a little bit on Instagram. Just want to delve a little deeper into some of the topics, and rather than put on a social media platform which is designed for reels and posts and pictures, YouTube is for more digestible content. What I wanted to talk about today was the difference between light and dark, and some of the misconceptions around healing and energy work and the lessons that we can learn from the darkness and also the light. It's no secret that we are beings of light, living a human existence on a 3D plane that is denser in its vibration and the home of darkness and duality. So as light beings, we come in contact with the darkness. We can also generate darkness, and we can be in contact with it on a day-to-day basis, knowingly or unknowingly. Now, we are multi-dimensional beings, many dimensions, 12D and beyond. Our consciousness here on the 3D plane is usually only aware of the 3D plane, sometimes the 4th dimension, sometimes the 5th dimension if you are into spiritual practices. It's very hard to keep your consciousness in the higher dimensions because our reality is the 3rd dimension. So we're in a physical body, which is in the 3rd dimensional plane, and it has receptors, senses, that enable us to process this information on a dense plane. So the physical body itself has touch, smell, taste, sight, hearing, etc. And these are faculties that we use to process information through the brain, sometimes bypass the brain, but that is the information that gets downloaded into the soul. Now, the soul is light. The soul is also aware of the 4th dimension, the creator of thoughts, creator of emotions, and this is where our energy bodies process this information on that level. So when we talk about darkness, if I want to give an example, darkness is the opposite of light. It is where light is absent, or it is in opposition to light. So it's taking the place of light. So like the yin-yang symbol, there is darkness and there is light, and there's a struggle between the two to find balance. Now, there would be no darkness without the light, so it doesn't really matter. The light is responsible for thoughts, emotions, feelings, etc., that are of a certain vibration. Love, trust, compassion, truth to a degree, although that's a tricky topic because there's different variations of the truth and different perspectives that we take to analyze the truth. Darkness is the opposite of that. It's thoughts and emotions that are related to sadness, anger, distrust, pain, hurt. Now, I can hear a lot of people already going, hey, hang on a second. It's okay to feel sadness, and it is. It's okay to feel sadness. As a being of light, you have the ability and right to experience all emotions, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, not to go off on a tangent, but the difference between right or wrong. This is a very, very hard topic to cover, so I'll do my best to just take it as a high level. There really isn't any wrong. There is choice and free will. And as a being of light, you can choose darkness. And I know people are going, but darkness is anger, murder, all this. Yes, that's right. It is those things, and as a choice, you get to choose those things. You get to be angry, you get to be sad. These are dark thoughts and emotions, but you as the light are giving power to that. Without the light, those things don't have power. So does that make sense? The darkness is out of choice of the light. Now these are obviously for different experiences, different situations. So the light can learn more about itself. And as you'll see in the world at this point in time when the video actually goes out, there's a lot of anger and destruction and war and hate, and that's a choice. It's not often a choice of the majority, but it's a choice. For whatever reason, people are choosing war and violence and destruction. Just like you can choose to be angry at someone, you can choose to love them. It's a choice. Now, for whatever reason, you choose these emotions or feelings or thoughts, it is a choice. Light, darkness, it's a choice. So if you choose light and love and compassion, trust, hope, faith, joy, all these, say higher vibrations, different frequencies we'll call them, that will enable you to be light. If you choose the other emotions, that enables you to be dark. Now, this might be in response. Now, wars just don't start out of a minor disagreement over something. This is genuine built-up hate over time, for whatever reason. But it is a choice. So will you choose light or will you choose darkness? It's up to you, to whatever situation. Now, there could be situations that you're in that there's no other choice. So for instance, I often get asked, that's all well and good to choose love and light, but what if you're getting attacked? Getting mugged in the street, or someone's trying to steal your car or steal your possessions or whatever. Now, it goes back to a few fundamental truths. There is always love for self and love for survival. So in a situation where you're defending yourself from someone literally trying to kill you, and it does happen, It's happening throughout the world. People do get murdered and people do get killed. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything that happens on this plane. You have the right to defend yourself. Self-preservation. You have the right to do that because it's the love for yourself. Again, being born here is also a choice. You choose whether to be born here or not. Just like incarnating in any other realm or dimension, you have the choice. It's how you live that in that dimension or field. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because there's a lot of discussion around moving to a fifth dimensional reality. How do we get there? How do we change the frequency of the earth? What does this look like? Well, it starts with the self. And that's why I'm talking about self-care, self-healing, self-cleansing. So the word healing can sometimes be misconstrued in that something's broken or it needs fixing. And that may be the case in the physical body where bones are broken or high blood pressure, and you can do energy work in the fourth dimension which impacts the third dimension. That's fine. But more often than not, it's all around self-care and self-cleansing. So I often use the analogy that most of us, if we've got the opportunity, have a bath, a shower, wash our physical body. Now what does this do? This prevents, from build-up of dirt, or can prevent infection. This is also the same for the energetic bodies. Day to day, there are many thoughts that are going around in the fourth dimension that we may or may not be aware of. But sometimes we bring into our own consciousness, and when you bring into your own consciousness and you focus on it, that becomes your thought. Every thought originates from the fourth dimension, whether you think it's your own or not. And as you give power to that thought, there's infinite number of thoughts. You give power to the one that you want to focus on, and that becomes your thought, your creation. It's how manifestation works. So this third dimensional reality isn't easy to live in on day to day, because we're also exposed to a lot of energies that we're not really focused on or want to be a part of. But what we don't realize is we're always part of the collective on every dimension, and on the third dimension it seems we're separate. But in actual fact, another person's thoughts or actions can impact our own. And it's the mask that we put on, the avatar that we put on in the third dimensional reality, that we think we're separate, but we're not. So as the collective consciousness, we're exposed to everyone else's thoughts and feelings on a day-to-day basis. So what we need to do often is go through processes to cleanse that body, those bodies, the physical body and the emotional body, the mental body, the etheric body, etc. And what this enables us to do is, what we're doing is we're removing the darkness from our light bodies, being beings of light. We're removing the darkness. That's all this is in a cleansing exercise. Using energy, using light to remove the darkness, removing the mud from your aura, basically. Because otherwise, like a parasite, the darkness feeds on the light and becomes bigger and greater and whatever until you're consumed by it, and all of a sudden there's an outburst. Which is how it works in things like war and heated arguments, etc. It's not anyone's fault. It's not right or wrong. It's just these are the natural laws of, I guess you could say, energetic physics, quantum mechanics, law of attraction, etc. It's just the way it is. So a lot of the times when I'm talking to people about, I call it healing. It's really energy work, cleansing, whatever you want to call it. So often I don't have a look at the root cause of what the problem is unless asked to, or approached, or permission to. Or if it's a deeper session, I'll do so. But the majority of times, it's just like you're washing a car, or you're washing your favorite bike, or cleaning a window or a mirror, or whatever, or your physical body. You're just wiping off the grime, the darkness, and until you see the light. And often that changes the situation ever so slightly, and immediately. And often there's also things like karma and cause and effect and things that come into play. So it's not the ability to be able to change karma or universal laws, etc. There's things that play out. But if it's not karmic related, and it is a case of person going back to the same lesson, and they really want to stop learning the same lesson over and over again, or accelerate through a situation of hardship and pain that isn't karmic related, then you can remove the darkness instantly using light. It's all energy cleansing, energy healing, whatever you want to call it is. It's just removing that darkness so that the light's exposed and can shine more brightly. That's all it is. One way to do that on a day-to-day basis, if you're not privy to the ways that energy healing works or energy cleansing, and you don't want to necessarily go to a healer every time, or every day rather, my advice would to be go, learn a modality. And there's so much information out in the internet these days, and easy to follow techniques that you don't necessarily need to be trained by a teacher, or although my advice would be, if you want to get deeper into it and learn on different levels, then I suggest following a teacher or a master or a guru, whatever you want to call it, or read some really, really good books, but or find professionals. But there's plenty of self-care guidelines out there. But if you're feeling like you can't get to that next step, then contact someone who knows what they're doing, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you or show you or guide you in the right direction. But some simple little tips, if I can give them before I finish up, is things like having a salt bowl in some of the rooms of your house or at your workplace, etc. Make sure no one steps on it so it's not in the way, in the corner somewhere. Things like a cactus is always good. And certain crystals and that, if they're programmed properly to draw in that energy and dispose of it. But all these things are really going to be just the tip of the iceberg. The advice would be to go to that next level, and like you've learned how to brush your teeth and wash your physical body, learn how to do a healing modality that you can just do some quick little self-cleansing techniques of a day. It just changes your life. It makes things so easy. You're less susceptible to emotional ups and downs and everything else that's going on with the world. And you can also go into the areas of psychic self-defense, which is a completely other topic that I don't want to cover today. I'll do a separate video for that. But the self-healing is goes a long way to just feeling a little bit better around everything that goes on in the world. And the salt bowl is like the sea. If you don't have a salt bowl or of water, bowl of salt water, then the sea is a perfect place to go and bathe in if you can. If you're in a warmer climate, or the weather's nice, or even if you're in a cooler climate and you don't mind getting cold in the sea, then it's a brilliant place to just have that energy, the darkness, melt away. And salt water is a great dissolver of that negativity and that darkness energy. Cactus, you might think this is pretty obvious, but it has little pinpoints that are on its surface that actually pierce negative energy. So I mentioned on one of my Instagram posts that I did a study about 23 years ago or similar, where a group of us in Melbourne worked with Dr. Emoto in Tokyo on sending distant energy to change the properties of water. And we looked at it under a microscope, and to see energy of love, compassion, hope, joy, etc. changes the properties of water to a specific shape. So too does the opposite. So under microscopes and things, we did investigate the opposite, and thought forms such as anger and hate and frustration, etc., varying degrees of different shapes, but the anger itself is actually shaped like a knife. So there's a good NXS song that I like. Now, I hope I get this right. Words are weapons sharper than knives, etc., etc. Well, that's true energetically as well. So well done, Michael Hutchins. That was very very good of you to share that wisdom with us before you passed on. But it is very true. Thought forms and words that are of a particular nature do carry a particular shape, and anger and hate, etc., carry the shape of a knife and a sharp object. So it can actually pierce through people's auras. And if you are a spiritual adept or leader of the new earth, etc., the majority of people who watch these videos, then your thoughts and words are going to be a lot more potent than others. So when you've got leaders in certain positions, I'm using the analogy of war again just because of what's going on in the world, but these leaders who use such big words of hate and anger towards other people, think about the massive daggers they're sending to a large population when they've got a big platform. So you just have to be aware of what you're producing on a day-to-day basis. Being a being of light, you can produce light or darkness, and just being aware that if you do create the darkness and you want to accelerate that cleansing or healing process, do your different healing modalities to clear that darkness away, whether it is using crystals, your hands, popping it into the salt bowl, asking the help of the angels, your guides, etc., seeking a professional or seeking someone you trust, then that will accelerate the removing of that darkness. So again, we're on the third dimensional plane. There is no right or wrong. There is darkness here. There's light and dark duality. Coming into contact with this on a day-to-day basis, it's just a matter of whether you want to sit in that darkness and be susceptible to that, or you want to clear it. So that's all I wanted to speak about today. Thank you so much for listening. I've got some great events and communication coming up in the next weeks and months, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, check out my website, check out Instagram. I've got lots of little tips and tricks and just fun things that go on there. I've also opened up my doors to do different energy work with people, whether it is healing, channeling, or coaching. Quite happy to open my doors for all inquiries. So check out all the links in the bio, and look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care, everyone. Namaste.